We'll look for those numbers. Let's bring in former Tesla president Jon McNeill. He's currently DVX Ventures CEO. John, how important do you think the subsidies are for consumers?
I think the expiration's definitely keeping the dealerships very busy this weekend, Sarah, with the expiration, no doubt about it. As consumers are trying to get in last minute before the subsidies expire.
When they expire, what do you think we'll see a big drop off?
I think there's been a variety of outcomes around the world when subsidies expire, and you do see a demand drop off in the short run, but I think we're on a long run curve that's hard to deny, even with policy and sometimes even OEM's own headwinds in terms of manufacturing and production. But that curve is up and to the right. It's just not straight up and to the right. And so I think we're going to see a little bit of a demand decline, and then there may be a recovery.
Why do you think there'll be a recovery, John? I'm just curious. You know, if anybody and everybody who wants to buy an EV now is obviously going to be motivated to do so, at least by being able to save a significant amount of money off the purchase price, why do you think it's ultimately going to come back?
I think, we're in the midst of several super cycles right now, and AI and electrification are definitely two of the most important ones. And in the EV segment of electrification, we get to look around the world at a case study that's really being driven outside of the United States. It's interesting and unique to these super cycles. And so what you see is demand is continuing to increase around the world. When I land in Tel Aviv, I see a lot of EVs, a lot of Chinese EVs. When I land in Mexico City, I see a lot of EVs and a lot of Chinese EVs. And certainly when you land in China, you see almost every car's an EV, but same thing in Norway. And the reason for that is these cars are a lot less energy cost, a lot less maintenance cost, and they're super fun to drive because the center of gravity is actually in the center of the vehicle for the first time. And so that's what drives, I think, long run demand, David, is the cars are a very good value prop.
Yeah, well, certainly if you're able to buy a Chinese-made one, it would seem, at least based on what I hear. I have not ridden in one. I assume you may have. I mean,
I have.
From an investor perspective, is BYD kind of the name you want to own then, given your own perspective?
I think BYD is going to be absolutely and is an important player in the space. As you've seen, GM has come from the bottom of the charts now to the top of the charts. And is the number two player in the U.S. They've created a company several times the size of Rivian just in a few years. And so I wouldn't rule out the U.S. Players, especially GM, either.
So what? They have to get competitive at a price level that the Chinese EVs sell at, because they're much cheaper.
I think that's what's happening. Like the GM released the Chevy Equinox. And that is right around the $30,000 price point, and that has shown that there is a mass market for these. They're introducing the Bolt EV, the Bolt 2, early next year, and that'll be another entry into that price segment. And so I think what they're seeing is that there's demand at that price point for sure.
And you think, I mean, Farley, was famously said, I think it was earlier this summer or not that long ago, the CEO of Ford sort of called it an existential crisis in terms of after driving a lot of these Chinese-made cars. You think that the U.S. manufacturers can get the numbers down, to Sarah's point, to equal sort of the Chinese so we could compete in other markets other than our own?
We're going to absolutely need to get our costs down to compete, and that is existential, I think, in the future for manufacturers. And we definitely need a level playing field so that we're not competing against subsidized Chinese prices, but actual Chinese prices of vehicles. But if so, I believe the GM can be competitive, and they've got the advantage of having kind of the leading internal combustion engine vehicles as well, so they can meet the customer where they're at in terms of demand.
And Tesla too, I would think, could be competitive on that global. I mean, they're trying.
That's right. Tesla moved into China really with that as the goal is to really learn everything that could be learned from that Shanghai manufacturing facility, and then bring that to the rest of the world. So Tesla's definitely working on being competitive as well.
Okay, John, thank you for joining us with some of the perspective with your time in the industry. Jon McNeill.